See? Nah. Hold on, I gotta click that one. I wanted to speak to you guys, and see if you guys experienced anything crazy this week, like any new objections, any new obstacles, anything interesting that you experienced with this new rule change?
Well, the rule change, right? And whenever I call most of the agents, they like they're offering 5. They are they give they're offering. They're like they pay.
You don't need to ask every single one of them. You're wasting your time. Yes. You have a buyer contract, right?
Yeah. No, I will take the buyer and make it pass.
I know, but you have a buyer contract, right? You already have the commission in the contract, right?
The buyer wants to go to the
Yeah, but you just work the commission into the offer. No?
But the buyer, if somebody is paying buyer for half year old, they're paying for that fee.
They're gonna pay anyway because you're gonna work it into the price. Right? So if you look at it in that perspective, you're telling the buyers that we're gonna try to have the sellers pay by working it into the price. So you don't have to ask every time, because to be honest with you, I would have never known what the split is. Remember the whole training that I went through? I'm like, why would I show my cards first? Because my job is to protect my seller client, right? So if your buyer contract says 2%, and I prematurely tell you that my seller is willing to pay a buyer's agent 2.5%, you're gonna go and change your buyer agreement, aren't you? Yeah. And I just cost my seller a 0.5%. And the reverse happened too, where I paid my seller, upwards of 1.5%, because I threw the ball back at the buyer's agent and said, just submit your terms and conditions in your offer. So in a multiple bid situation, I have offers coming in over asking at 2% buyer commission, at 1.5% buyer commission, and 1.3% buyer commission. And if all else is equal, which agent do you think will win? The lower one, and I just saved my seller 1.5%. So if I prematurely told you what the buyer agent commission is, I'm not working for my seller yet, right? I'm like voluntarily giving you the commission, and that's the whole idea of like this lawsuit. Sellers were upset that they were paying a buyer's agent to negotiate against them. Or we were telling them also that they needed to pay this amount in order to get activity and technically bribe the agent to show them. So this whole lawsuit was to decouple commission, so that I represent my seller, you represent your buyer, you determine your pay based on the services that you're gonna offer. Right? So I had this happen to me and Cindy, and we just like Cindy and Michelle laughed at it. This agent contacted Cindy and said, "Are you offering out a buyer agent commission?" So I trained Cindy to say, per the new rule, you should have a buyer contract already in place. Work your commission into the offer. He said, "The buyer agent commission, I have a contract. The commission is 0. So I said, well, based on the new rule, you can't collect more than what's indicated in your contract. So even if my seller is offering 3% buyer agent commission, you could only collect 0.
Wow.
Right? So you guys don't say stupid things. Like, don't. Right? You guys gotta know the rules. You can't say my buyer agent commission is 0. Because per the new rule, you're not allowed to collect over and above what your contract states. So if my seller was gonna give you a lot of money, you still can't take it, right?
on the agreement, the commission pays like, then we buy, like.
No, it can't be open-ended. That's one of the rules. You guys gotta go over the rules. It has to be a set amount. It could be a percentage, it could be a flat fee, it can't be open-ended, it can't be, you can't have a range. It's, why are you so pretty today? It's really everything from then, yeah. Yeah, so no, you can't have a range, guys, okay? So it's very important, these trainings that we have, it's so important that you have these agreements filled out correctly. Okay? Because if you fill it out correctly, and you speak to agents that are experienced, and you say stupid things, they're gonna tell you, you can't even collect any commission anyway. Okay? So make sure that that's all, ironed out. I wanna also, Juan, did you experience anything crazy this week? Any adjustments to the new rules change?
Not necessarily, I mean, how to say that?
A lot of success?
Yeah, I would say, I'll close it tomorrow, I'll not close next week. I'm sure it won't, fire, okay.
You know what I like doing? So I had a closing yesterday too, and I like asking attorneys, how are they adapting to this new NAR change? Right? So I spoke with an attorney yesterday when I was at a closing, and she's very experienced in this neighborhood. She is reputable. And she said to me, Lily, this is the first time I'm hearing about this. And these changes, with the whole commission, when we received your new deal sheet, like this is the first time I'm seeing it. Just a few days ago, the closing we had was the other we put together a long time ago, but new deal sheet went out. And she was wondering why all of a sudden we're indicating what the listing commission is, what the buyer commission is, and who's paying for it. So I think moving forward, hearing this yesterday, like Michelle and Cindy, like I'm shocked that she said to me, this is the first time I'm hearing about this. I haven't made any adjustments in my contract. And I think what we need to do now as trained realtors, even though you rely on these attorneys that you may trust, you have to look at the contract that they're putting out there and confirming that they understand where compensation is getting paid, because it's gonna come back to bite us. If sellers said, no, I signed a listing agreement, with my listing agent that only says X percentage, like I'm not paying a buyer's agent 2%. That was never agreed upon in my listing agreement. And then the buyer never had an actual contract, right? Because I know there's agents out there lying to me, telling me they have a buyer contract, when in reality, they don't. They're just submitting offers with commissions in it. It's gonna end up coming back to bite you if you guys are taking shortcuts right now, and you're not double checking what an attorney's doing, and you're relying on them to secure your commission. Okay, that's another thing I experienced this week. Anybody else? Anyone experience anything different? Come on, you guys are out on the field. Like there's no aha moment. Like what the fuck?
I think we're all in the same boat, everybody's going through the same thing, so, I don't know.
Yeah, but these are like specific incidents that just opened my eyes to how scary or how crazy. Like, I think we're gonna see issues coming down the road 3 to 4 months from now where sellers might be questioning, the compensation and things like that. Even last week, remember Vincent went over the exclusive right to sell the EXP contract, and Michelle and I were like, oh shit, we've been filling it out wrong. I sent out new contract to get it redone, and my sellers signed it. And I just explained to them, like, listen, sorry, I'm gonna have to send you this right to sell as we are transitioning there was a bit of confusion, and, you know, I shouldn't have put this percentage under unrepresented buyer, it actually should be total of the listing commission plus the unrepresented that I put there. And they're like, okay, no problem, just send it over, right? So I don't want to, I know some agents would have been like, forget it, my mistake, I'm gonna just hold that. Nothing happened, and I was gonna, I'm represented by, you know, it's, you know, these thoughts run through your head, didn't it, Michelle? Like,
Yeah.
should I just like.
No, like, hopefully, I just, like, sell it quickly, you don't have to worry about it.
Mhm. Or like if I don't get an unrepresented buyer and then there's the buyer's agent and whatever, you know?
Yeah.
So, of course, it's going through my head too, do I admit my mistake? Or do I just try to sell it quickly and have a buyer's agent, like, nobody ever wants to admit that they made a mistake, right? Especially like, I'm up here training on it and I made that mistake because I read it incorrectly and I'm gonna admit to it, right? So you have to make sure that you're dotting your i's, you're crossing your t's, and making sure that there is no issue 3 months from now, 4 months from now, when they're looking back on the contract. So you got all of yours to be signed? Yeah. That's the way to do it. Another thing I want to touch up on, unrepresented buyer. Remember Vincent came down here and he's like, you know, if a seller is, not paying for an unrepresented buyer, can the agent collect on the buyer side as an unrepresented buyer? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Yes. Or even, I'm also thinking someone on the team, right?
Yeah.
So even if, let's say, for example, I have a team, right? And they're doing an open house for me. And the buyer that's coming in is an unrepresented buyer, right? And they are adamant about not signing an exclusive buyer agreement, or even a single property agreement, or even like a non-exclusive buyer agreement, right? How is that agent or the listing agent gonna get compensated for doing double the work? Because the seller, regardless of what we said, the seller said, no, I'm not taking on unrepresented buyer no matter what, right? And Vincent says, I don't think that's right. I think we should still get compensated because we're doing extra work. So Michelle reached out to Kim Canavan, our state broker, and she asked her that question: can we collect from a buyer an unrepresented buyer fee, even if the seller doesn't want to pay, right? And Kim said, I believe so. I believe so. Why don't we could add it as an addendum to the contract, but run it by an attorney, right? So I reworded it and I'll read it to you guys. Okay. So the addendum would say, if buyer is not represented by a broker, buyer's broker, then broker, EXP assumes additional liability and paperwork responsibility. So it says EXP, it doesn't say the listing broker, right, the listing agent. So technically, I could have someone on my team help the unrepresented buyer, right? In this scenario, broker EXP will not represent the buyer, but will facilitate the completion of necessary forms and ensure fair treatment of all parties. In this situation, the buyer's broker will collect exactly, and then there's a dollar amount or percentage of the gross purchase price of the property as reflected on the final settlement as compensation. And then I wrote in capital letters from buyer. So the compensation would come from the buyer, right? So we're now, she sent it to Arun. I sent it to an attorney I know. we asked Kim to also send it to the EXP legal to see if this is something that we could add as an addendum for the buyers.
Add to, which form, the non-exclusive buyer representative form?
There is no form for this right now.
Okay, okay.
There is no form. Okay. Right, so it could be an addendum to, our contract. Right, then you.
No, there is no buyer, so unrepresented buyer.
Do you remember last week, Vincent said, why can't we collect from an unrepresented buyer for the work that we do, even if the seller won't pay it? Do you remember that? So we reached out, Michelle reached out to Kim. And Kim said she thinks we can, right, by adding an addendum to the contract. So what we did was we took the unrepresented buyer portion of the exclusive right to sell, and I reworded it. And now we sent it to Arun, an attorney I know, and Kim is sending it to the legal team for approval. This is like a representative around the yeah. Yeah, or even someone on my team. So let's say Michelle's doing an open house for me on one of my listings, so she's not the direct listing, right? And there's a buyer that walks in and they're interested. And regardless of how much she tries to persuade them to sign a single property buyer broker agreement, on non-exclusive buyer broker agreement, whatever, they said, no, I want to be unrepresented. Right, because buyers are getting smarter, they think that they're gonna pay less, and they think, you know, they'll get a free service. So in that scenario, because she's already done the open house, because she showed the buyer the property, right? She could try to work out a unrepresented buyer compensation. So, I don't know, I think we need to discuss what we think we need to discuss there, because she cannot just give you an offer and say, my next commission, because she doesn't have a deed. She has no agreement, right, you can't. Yeah.
The chances are, if they don't want to sign a contract, or they probably won't want to pay the commission.
Yeah, but then they could pay the flat fee, right? So this is in situations where Vincent says, let's say a buyer's agent, a buyer doesn't want to pay a buyer's agent 2% or 1.5% or 1%, right? And you're like, well, for the added liability and paperwork and work that I have to do, I'm gonna charge you a flat $3,000, you know, like something for all the work.
And what if they say, no, I don't want to, then
Then they can't just log her.
Yeah, so who's gonna do the extra work, hire attorney?
For the listing agent not gonna want to do the work.
no, I totally understand.
Right?
You say we cannot do double it now anymore for.
No, you could, okay, when you take a listing now, right?
Yeah.
What does the listing side tell what the commission on the other side is?
No, yeah. But you agree with the homeowner that there is going to be percentage that we're gonna share with the buyer agent.
Right, and the seller says no
80%, no.
to the buyer's agent. So why should the seller pay for you if the buyer is coming direct? That's an unrepresented buyer.
So then you have to try to collect from the 100% buyer.
Yeah, and our commission, our listing agreement no longer says that we're sharing anything. EXP is no longer sharing a buyer's commission with a buyer's brokerage. That was the whole lawsuit, completely decoupled. Right, so there is absolutely no section in our listing agreement specifying what a buyer agent compensation is. So you can't, you could double end it, that if you have an exclusive buyer contract with the buyer, with that commission already established, right? You have the listing, right? And then you signed an agency disclosure that says that the owner has consented to dual agency, right? Then yes, you can double end it.
No, but even if it's an unrepresented buyer.
Not an unrepresented, well, unrepresented is not a dual agent.
Yeah,
Because now you have a client and a customer.
It's still a
Dual agency, yes. Dual agency happens when you have a client relationship where you have a contract with the seller and you have a contract with the buyer to represent them. So it's a fiduciary duty to both parties. That's a dual agent
Is both parties like to agree, like the seller has to be okay with this
and the buyer. Yeah. So when you sign your agency with your buyer, when you're signing a buyer contract with your buyer, you understand you need an agency disclosure too, right? Your agency disclosure is now checking off that you represent the buyer as a buyer's agent. And you're gonna check off dual agent and dual agent with,
advantage.
advanced informed consent, dual agent, advanced informed consent, dual agent with designated sales agent.
How do you send it to the seller?
In the event, there will be situations where I might have a client interested in your property. In situations like that, it will be a dual agency where I would represent both parties, and all information conveyed will be strictly transactional.
So that's not really that, what do you think about
That's fine, then we'll designate an agent in my office to represent the buyer. Then it would be dual agent with designated. So you could designate Simon to represent the buyer while you maintain your client relationship with the seller. Right? Anyone more confused than ever?
I think the thing with the design, she's in
Paperwork, yeah. Yeah.
That
I think that was the whole thing, the whole, Vincent, did you hear that? What I said about the whole unrepresented buyer, thing that you talked about last week? Okay. Vincent? Are you there? Not there.
I don't think he could hear you.
I think he's sleeping. All right, so what's gonna happen is, we're gonna wait for Arun to respond. We're gonna also see if Kim could get back to us, with regards to this addendum, because we want the legal team get its piece to also approve it. And then hopefully it's something that we could incorporate, you know, during our open houses or whatever. So I did an open house this weekend, 25 people came through. And, there was a lot of buyers that came through and they're like, some of them knew already about changes, so they're like, no, unrepresented. Right? So like majority of the time you won't hear them saying that, right? But once they said that, oh my God, this person read up on the rule change. Some buyers that were like, oh yeah, I have an agent, I don't know which one I'm gonna use yet, you know, Bobby, John Boy, John Kane, I don't know, you know. So obviously he didn't have a buyer contract established yet, but he's gonna probably choose one.
I still think a lot of people will not sign until they find the property.
They might, and that's the problem. If you're doing open houses, you can't prevent that from happening, right? Because if they have that contract, that will provide them coming into your open house and just touring the home, because they don't need to sign any contract when they're doing. You just have to be there and establish relationships.
Even the buyer.
Whoever's doing the open house, whoever's hosting the open house.
And if a buyer has already a buyer broker agreement, and they just come for the open house, then you have no say now as an agent. You know, I showed it to them, I'm giving it part. They have a contract
That will provide them.
that otherwise.
Yeah, but we'll know.
Yeah, but now.
Yeah, but now the buyer can come and without a buyer contract or not, and then they want to put an offer with you, or you try to convert that into your buyer. If anything, we're working with the buyer's agent, an agreement.
Huh?
Who said, hey? You guys have any questions?
So
No.
I'm
But people.
Great.
Yeah, does anybody like me to offer? Yes, so we have one offer, from an unrepresented buyer. We also have an offer from an agent that she asked me what the buyer commission is after she did all the showings and everything, and I said, should have a buyer contract already established, what's the commission into the offer? Okay, 1 second, I think Ed had a question. Ed, did you have a question?
No, I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like I'm having a hard time with the audio. Like it just sounds very echoey.
How about now?
Yeah, it
Honestly,
sounds echoey.
yeah, it almost feels like that microphone isn't even connected.
I
So-
can hear it clearly.
There a microphone, where am I supposed to speak into?
I don't, because as you get closer to the TV, you get clearer and louder, or wherever the computer is.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, the audio sounds better now, but it's like I guess when everybody's talking or projecting, like it just sounds very like muffled. That's all. I don't know if it's just me or what, but
Okay, how about now?
still has a. I mean, it sounds better.
I can hear you.
Yeah, like
Zero problem.
like it doesn't sound like Jennifer's audio.
Yeah, come to the office.
Come to the office, come to the office.
You know, when I used to sit at home and
Yeah.
Zoom, I used to have that problem, mostly if your back was turned
Yeah,
and.
Yeah, that's true.
how about now?
I mean, like Lily,
Perfect.
I could hear you better. The only thing is, like I said, when you guys are talking or like people are saying stuff, like Michelle in the background, for example, I can never hear what Michelle's saying
Yeah, because she's hiding in the corner, you see, right there.
because she always has something nice to say, but I can never hear what she's saying.
Keeping her
Now,
secret.
now.
Okay, Juan, what's your question?
I was gonna ask, that unrepresented,
Buyer?
you got the offer, how the offer was presented, how did they do it without an agent?
They just, so we have, when we do open houses, Cindy does this really pretty flyer with a QR code, right? So they can scan the QR code, get all the information, get the floor plan with additional photos. And then when you flip it over, it says, when you want to submit an offer, you know, this is what we need, proof of funds, pre-approval, blah, 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 and you're gonna email it to, these documents. But when we are already, at the property, we get everyone to sign disclosure side. I don't know if you guys do that, but every state, like, they line up and we get every disclosure signed, right? So then we also, confirm, so you're coming in as an unrepresented buyer. I'm gonna need you to sign an unrepresented, non-representation document. Have you guys seen it?
No, haven't seen.
It's part of the Google Drive, Ed.
All right, I'll check it right now then.
Unrepresented, non-representation.
I have it.
I've actually gotten this signed, a few times already, and you guys gotta get used to it, okay? What do you keep in Google Docs? We're like, keep them, they save it, I mean, like Michelle has it saved in her file.
Let me log into the.
So you have to get them.
Physically and, yeah.
That non-representation document, confirms that they don't have a buyer agreement, they don't have a buyer contract. You're protecting yourself from a buyer agent coming in saying, this is my buyer, here's our contract. Can they say, an agent? If they haven't signed a non-representation, yes, they could. No, if they sign. If they sign and then they come back, no, they have, the document says that they'll be responsible themselves. It's very important you guys, get used to these documents. So I did one specifically, for my Middle Village property, right? So I put my seller's name here at next to EXP client. There was 5 buyers that were going on that property. So we got all 5 of them to sign this document, right? And you send it through schedule, right? You send it and
But you had them sign these when they were coming in, so,
no, when they were ready to submit an
Oh, okay.
offer, and they said, we don't, you know. First, he said he had an agent. Then he said, I didn't sign any contract. And I wanna go unrepresented. Cause I told him rules and everything, he said, oh, that's you. So I said, okay, you wanna go unrepresented, I need you to sign a form confirming you don't have a buyer contract, you don't have a buyer's agent. And if the buyer agent comes back and says their own commission, we're not responsible. Right? So
If it is client, the name, you, who is you,
you is the buyer,
client is the seller,
yes,
you is the buyer, property.
yes.
What's the bottom?
over here, it just says that.
You represent and warrant to EXP that you are either unrepresented by a real estate brokerage company or that you are represented by a real estate brokerage company and that you have instructed that real estate brokerage company in writing not to be present to negotiate any offers pertaining to the property, and that all offers pertaining to the property are to be presented and negotiated by and between yourself and EXP Realty. Without the involvement of your real estate brokerage company, you waive any requirements that all negotiations concerning the property be conducted exclusively through your real estate brokerage company, if any, and EXP. Right?
So you say, you basically signing the regular sales disclosure with the buyer, that you represent the seller. And this one, you sign where they say,
Correct.
things that they want to keep it on.
Correct. Our agency disclosures are done at the open house. Okay, so the rules never changed on that. So you still need to get that done.
Only when they come without an agent, right?
Correct, correct. If they are with an agent, I don't have them sign my agent. We can just keep them. Okay?
So Lily, you're using this form at every open house. Whenever someone comes in, you're having them sign the agency disclosure form and you're having them sign this form in the housing.
No, only when they offer.
When they come in through the open house, Ed, can you hear me?
Yes,
When they come in through the open house, the only requirements are agency disclosure and fair housing. Once they express any interest on the property, you ask them if they want buyer representation or are they coming in unrepresented. If they want to come in unrepresented, you have to get this document signed because you don't want a buyer agent showing up at the end of everything is done, while everything is done, claiming that they have a buyer contract with this buyer.
got it.
And they say, I'm okay to get an representative as long as I'm not paying a commission.
Yes, but Ed, remember, earlier in this training, I said that we're working on a document right now to see if you could get compensated from a buyer that is unrepresented. So in the event that you take a listing ad and in the unrepresented buyer portion, the seller is adamant about not paying unrepresented buyer commission. Vincent said, let's find out, last week Vincent said, let's find out if we could collect a fee or something from the buyer, not the seller, for added liability and paperwork for doing the work because they don't have an agent representing them.
Got it. That makes sense.
Yeah, right? So if the seller's not paying, why can't we collect from the buyer? That's what Vincent said. So Michelle reached out to Kim Canavan. Kim told us to add an addendum. We changed the wording around. We sent it to the attorney for approval, and now we're waiting.
So this could potentially be a new form.
Possibly, or as of right now, she says just an addendum to the contract.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, it's okay.
Lily, so when you, sorry,
Yeah.
quick question. So when you say interest, what do you mean? Like an offer or like, hey, I like the house? And then boom, you pull out the document?
Yeah. if they start liking the house, right, they're like interested. I start explaining to them, listen, starting in August 17th, there's some rule changes where every buyer who expressed interest in a property or touring a property has to now enter into a buyer contract with an agent, right? Do you want representation or are you coming in as an unrepresented buyer?
Basically, they saying, do I have to?
It's up to you, right? And you could say to them that you're gonna get compensated one way or another. You don't have to mention the amount, right? But you guys should have documents. EXP has created such an amazing toolkit for all of you guys, which we showed you last week, right? We showed you guys the links last week. Michelle's gonna do it again. She's rolling her eyes at you all. Come on, get with it. This is our 4th week into EXP Toolbox. All right, so once you start talking business with these buyers, you should back it up with documentation showing that these changes are in fact taking place and it's not something you created. I sometimes will send links also from like CNN because the CNN article, it quotes Leo from EXP. Let me see if I can send this to Joseph. Oh, not Joseph. Yeah. This one quotes, I'm gonna send this to Michelle if she wants to show it. But this article I sent to some of my clients because it discussed the changes. And then, you know, they see that it's from CNN, so it's like, all right, this is like a freaking national thing. Yeah, go ahead.
So every week, EXP sends an email out as far as the training. And in the link, it gives you the resource. Everything is here. So if you want a seller toolkit, if you want the buyer representation toolkit, it's all here. All you have to do is press it and download the form and keep the form in a folder on your computer. You can always refer back to it. I literally downloaded everything from these websites into a folder, but this is part of your Google Drive with EXP. So every week, there's another email, and in that email, you have the resource to go to the New York agent's information here.
You guys hearing Michelle?
A little bit.
Okay, she says every week EXP sends us updates on this new NAR settlement. And every week they have trainings recorded for you to listen to revert back to. They have links to documents that you guys can use for, you know, open houses, when you're meeting a buyer, when you're meeting a seller. There's frequently asked questions on which forms to use for what. You guys have to take the time to really educate yourself. This is a CNN article that I like to reference too, right? Just to show them that this is happening everywhere. It's not something we created or we made up on our own, right? And I like the CNN article because it just, you see them quoting Leo from EXP. Where is it? Close.
Here.
Yeah, see? Like, our company, EXP, has been quoted by a lot of the large companies as really, you know, forging all of these changes. They're making sure our agents are the most educated and well equipped with all of this new rule change, right? You guys have all these tools, please. This is the last day that we're going over this month, okay? I mean, you guys obviously can come back to me and ask questions, but this is our 4th week.
Not only that, the EXP training, they're literally having other agents that's outside of Nassau, Suffolk, the Bronx, City, like all over New York, asking such important questions that can work and will relate into our business. So I watch these trainings while I'm driving. All you have to do is listen to it, and they're recording. You don't have to be there during the training. Just matter of hearing the information that's being discussed.
Yeah. And then obviously, if you hear something interesting or, that's why we do this training, right? When I start this training, I'm like, so what happened, anything new happened this week? Did you guys experience anything new about the, with the changes? Let's bring up the questions, let's bring up the objections, because whatever I experience, I'm sure you're gonna experience too.
On Sunday, I noticed there was a lot of open house,
Yeah.
a lot. Going to church, coming to church.
Yeah,
Normally, I see people standing on the lawn.
Yeah.
Or maybe, I didn't see that, I see really a lot of open house. I said, you know what it is? They have more. Because they have to satisfy their sellers, they gotta get buyers. Buyers, people have been calling me and writing to the people after.
yeah,
And said, well, we know each other, you think we can, I was like, no, that's not how I look at it. No, do I have to pay a commission? And I was, and I told them basically, yeah, you have to fill out a form.
yeah.
They don't want to, they really don't want to.
If they don't want to,
Then
then
they're going to into it.
well, they have to go direct to the listing agent as an unrepresented buyer. If a buyer does not want representation and does not want to sign a buyer contract, they do have options, right? They could go direct to the listing agent and be an unrepresented buyer. But I think experienced listing agents will still put compensation down for an unrepresented buyer, right? So what I say to the buyers usually is, I'm gonna still get paid regardless, right? It works into the price. And you're the one paying for the price, right? So why aren't you getting representation that you're already paying for? Why would you wanna go direct to the listing agent whose fiduciary duty is to the seller? Right? If you were getting a divorce, would you and your spouse use the same attorney? No, right? So you want an agent to advocate for you. So Tina Call said this, guys, right? This is not new. She said that, when you went out to get listings, right? Or when you do go out to get listings, are there gonna be agents that charge 1%? And then there's gonna be full service agents that charge whatever percent, right? And now we can have a whatever percentage it's gonna be, but there's discount agents out there, right? And she calls it, yeah, New Betty Broker might charge you 1%, right? Because New Betty Broker is using you as their experiment, right? They're learning, right? From you because you're their very first client. So yes, New Betty Broker might be worth 1%. But I, on the other hand, work, and if you guys are new, that's fine. You could just say, I'm part of a team with an experience of X amount of years, right? 24 years of experience. And the level of service that we offer is completely than New Betty Broker compared to New Betty Broker, who is gonna help her knowledge on the largest asset that you're gonna end up buying in your lifetime. Right, so there's gonna be ranges of discount brokers to experienced agents, even on the buy side. We're talking listing side, now we're talking buy side, right? So if you're gonna now have a choice to hire a buyer's agent to represent you, are you gonna choose New Betty Broker, or are you gonna choose an agent who actually has experience in handling any issues that potentially could come up and cost you a lot of money? Right? So you guys have to learn I do want you guys to role play with each other. I don't know if you want to role play today, because I do want to go over any other new objections that you guys are facing, dealing with, questions, uncertainties, because this is the last day that we're going over this in all this. Okay. Have you guys signed up any new buyer clients this week? You guys scared, can I not be fire?
Vacation to buy it,
Huh?
because they didn't need vacation to buy it.
Why?
No, I'm not afraid at all, because I'll always work from the.
There has
They
been
are-
an increase. Have you guys noticed that there has been an increase in open houses?
Everything I
You don't
look
have-
at.
yeah. You don't have that phone?
You know why? Because buyers are really afraid right now. They'd rather go to the open houses, because they know when they go to the open houses, they don't have to sign a buyer contract yet. So for those of you who want some action and want face-to-face and want to have conversations, my suggestion to you is to do more open houses. You need to do more open houses to get yourself out there and have those difficult conversations, because you could mess up your first time. Who cares? Then you're gonna say to yourself, well, I lost that customer, you know? I shouldn't have said that. Next time I'm gonna try to do it this way, right? So you learn best when you're out on the field making mistakes, right? I met you at the luncheon, and I said the best way you could learn is just to go
I'm a
out there.
hands-on person,
Yeah,
I can't
Yeah,
sit
that-
and
you got
just read and comprehend, but
yeah.
once I do it.
You gotta be, you can't be afraid of making the mistakes, guys, okay? And if you have, or you know people here, or reach out to some people here and say, let's role play, right? Let me try to convert you. Why don't we role play that I'm in an open house and now you've expressed interest and now I have to explain to you this new rule. Like, how am I gonna transition to it? How am I gonna transition so that I get you to sign a buyer broker agreement? Okay? Guys, a non-exclusive buyer agreement is better than nothing. And we have that form. So until we get that buyer broker addendum approved, what I do want you guys to work on is first, obviously, the buyer broker agreement is the first, option, then the single property. And then if you still can't get it done, then the non-exclusive buyer rep, done. We have all of them. Okay? All right, what other questions you guys got? Michelle shared the CNN, link? Or no? You did, right? You shared the CNN link, okay. So the CNN link, if you guys just Google it, you'll be able to find it too. It's on the chat. Yeah, it's in the chat. The biggest shake-off in the century. Hi, Stella. So, any other questions about what we discussed so far? No one? Everyone's quick to clear? Have you signed up any buyers, Susan?
I was always trying to find it. That's what I was telling my husband, that he wanted to show those properties, they want to find compensation. Might be some properties to longer than 1.5, that's why I see 3%. I will show you the first option for you.
Okay. So this is a new for you. I have two different sections. I have agents saying like, this is gonna change like everything, right? And then there's agents that says, I've been signing buyer contracts from the very beginning.
Yeah, I'm just able to come to this and show some work with the seller. Sign that the agreement is clean, right, that the three, they pay, they want the
Unrepresented buyer.
buyer, and then when the agent can make an offer.
Okay. You said you are unsure how to explain the
No, I mean,
unrepresented.
that's only confusion. Somehow, yeah.
Okay.
It's just some sellers saying, whether you be the buyer agent. Then, for the buyer agent,
Yeah,
then they explain that basically you just put on. For the buyer.
yeah. I want you guys to use my stories. You guys could use our stories as if it was your own, right? Like I've done that in the past when I first started, where I said to the owners, like, this new change is actually beneficial to sellers. And my sellers have been paying less because of this new change. Right? We're no longer negotiating a buyer agent commission in advance. We are no longer offering out a buyer agent commission in advance. Right? The ball is in our court, where we say to the buyer's agent, submit your offer with your compensation. And a lot of times it's coming in a lot lower than what I had originally paid out on an LS. Okay, so at the end of the day, to be honest, my sellers have been benefiting from this change. Now, but it scares a lot of buyer agents, and you guys know MLS dues are up, right?
Yeah,
You guys
I
all got that email?
September 30th.
You guys all got that email?
Yeah.
What do you think will happen? Is there gonna be a cleansing?
Yeah, but an increase too, in, the not,
There's an increase in the dues.
yes, yeah.
It went up
Mhm.
because they.
Like around $75, I think, somewhere around there.
If there is a agent has an agreement with the seller, do they must sign the new one right now?
Yeah, yeah. And it could be MLS's new one or our new one. I like EXP's new one. But yes, the old MLS forms, no, you can't use the old ones anymore, right? We can't like, they have to know that we're not splitting the commission anymore. We no longer split commissions.
I asked because I was friend, it's our house. He's they don't want to continue with the agent anymore.
Okay,
They don't give us access to capital.
not withdraw. So there's two forms. Okay, if anyone ever gets approached, to list a property that's active, right, there's two ways to get it off the market. A withdrawal form or a cancellation form. The withdrawal form, it has to be the cancellation form. It's a cancellation form now. It's called, like, if you click on it, it's cancellation.
The cancellation, but immediately or still going to be conditional because
That's a withdrawal. There's a difference between a withdrawal form and a cancellation form. With a withdrawal form, they're still obligated until the expiration date. With the cancellation form, it's effective immediately.
obligation.
No other obligation.
But I think the agent might not.
Yeah. You can't say withdrawal. Cancellation form. Go on MLS right now. On your phone. Show you, pull it up. Okay, Kathy, you were saying?
Oh, two things. I noticed yesterday, I think it was email. Oh, I want to buy a property in New York. I want 3 bedrooms, I'm leaving a couple.
The scam.
Right, right.
Like I'm
They
getting.
start talking to you and then they tell you to go to WhatsApp and then they start trying to talk to you about Bitcoin
No,
and
I tell them
cryptocurrency.
We have to have a buyer consultation, period. Yeah, I figured that.
You guys are gonna get a lot of
And I
scams.
said, I'm gonna get these are testers.
No, they're scams. They're scams. And a lot of them, there's, my team actually just, messaged me also in Slack. There's a lot of scammers that pretend that they're me with a different phone number. And then they'll say something like, oh, I'm in a meeting right now. I need you to do me a favor. And then they'll sign it, your boss, Lily. I'm like, yeah, okay. And so my team like sends it to me and they're like, hey, boss.
Oh, another question.
But those are all scams.
The continuing education, I have to renew my license again. I see that EXP have one for like $89, and then it's, REL New York, it's like almost $200. I'm thinking about doing the one with EXP. Do you have any feedback on that?
No, I just go through it. It's a lot of clicking. It's all like ethics and all the like, other stuff. What I do suggest for brand new agents is that you guys take, designation courses, things that are actually beneficial, right? So when I was doing continuing education in the beginning, we would take like a CBR, especially now, guys, take a CBR course, a certified buyer's rep course, take an ABR course, accredited buyer's rep course, right? So that once you do that, you could write those designations on your business card, on your website, whatever, right? Olga has taken like every designation out there, So I would take those as opposed to some nonsense,
I think APR was, yeah, because that's what you right now, in a short period of time, it's like.
Olga's saying that ABR courses are free right now. So for those of you who wants to get that designation, because obviously we all have to sign up buyers now.
The ABR, because I have right,
Yeah.
How often?
What is it, every 2 years? Every 4 years?
ABR.
For ABR?
I gotta remove. I gotta be here, yeah, I gotta.
Yeah.
I mean, so to get the APR, you need to sign five,
Yeah, so I would say take the CBR first. Take the CBR first, guys, and then take the ABR. CBR, you just have to take the course and you get the designation. ABR, you have to have, signed buyers up and accumulated enough points to get that designation.
Fine. And then you pay for the membership, I think,
But the difference is that when you're signing up buyer clients now, you can say, there's a difference between an agent who has the designation of an accredited buyer's rep and those that don't.
Did you do it through my board?
Yes. Well, I did.
Yeah, because I
APR is national. Like the CBR.
But the one from EXP, they contacted me and they said, you have to renew your license by the end of November, which I know. And they said, we're doing it for $89, but I was like, I didn't have to anybody speak, but I'm actually looking for the email. So that's why I brought it up. To see how they go with them.
MLS Stratus. What do you mean? If you guys go to MLS Stratus, there's a bunch of education on there. I mean, if anything, guys, please take the designation courses so that you understand buyer representation more.
I think it's important.
Yeah. Also, for those of you who hold listings, Ed, some of you other experienced agents, if you guys have listings, they're cracking down on the remark section, okay? So Kim Canavan said that there's about 70 agents currently that has some form of words in their remark section that should not be there. You cannot say, buyer agent friendly. You can't say offering buyer commission. You can't say I'm giving 3 bananas. Like, you can't say anything like that, right? So go check your remark section on your listing because they're going to start imposing fines. They also did another announcement for those of you who thinks that they can get around it by saying it in the showing time. If a buyer agent asks you about commission and showing time, you cannot answer them. That is part of MLS. Any communication about compensation cannot be discussed on showing time or MLS, right?
And I don't feel understand why would you stop it.
Yeah, right,
Just say,
right.
roll up to the.
Correct, right? So you don't ask, wrong. Don't call a listing agent on asking about commission.
This is mysterious, but like I see on the Facebook when people say, oh, I called 5 agents, only 2 said they will cooperate, I'm not gonna show those other agents the thing. It's gonna keep it.
That was the whole law.
That's what the spirit is. That you have to show whatever the buyer wants to see. They're not just selling them, they're not competing, because they're not making commission. It just means that they're not explaining the compensation properly, because at the end of the day, the buyer still pays everybody.
Working to the price. So I want you guys to, get used to saying to these buyers, like, listen, you're the one at the closing table, you're the one coming with all the checks, right? And the commission is built into the price and distributed. So why aren't you getting the representation that you're already paying for that's built into the price? Common sense, no?
Maybe one small tip from when I put the speaker on the other, the overscroll, there was people directly check my listing, because once they did it,
Fine.
fine, yeah. Please do check if everything's good, and they want you good to go.
Oh, so you have them double checking everything
Yeah.
now? I didn't even know that was an option.
Yeah.
That's so funny. I didn't know that was an option. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I've gotten $100 fines, I've gotten $2,500 fines, I've gotten like insane fines.
They wait, first time,
Yeah, yeah. So you guys can't put your name on any of the photos, you can't put any logo on the photo, you also can't advertise anywhere more than 24 hours before putting on an MLS, right? They call that like, clear cooperation or something like that. You can't, for those of you who do like the Matterport or the virtual tours, there's branded links and unbranded links. If you put a branded link onto MLS, you're fined $100. Right, so you guys have to be.
But it says branding.
I know, but you can't put any branding on MLS.
Branded, what's the example?
My info. Yeah.
But it says the link says branding.
Oh, well, they're branded and unbranded. So my DA made a mistake and put the branded in the unbranded.
Yeah, that's fine.
You got it too, right?
The writing is wrong.
Huh?
That's,
Yeah, the assistant made a
you
mistake.
need to take it.
Yeah. They'll catch it.
Email, fine.
We're telling you guys from our pain. Things that we've experienced before, right? So anyway, Kim said that any talks of compensation, make sure that you're not putting it on, okay? Don't try to be creative, or anything like that. Just, I don't think too much is gonna change. I think honestly, it's gonna be business as usual. Just follow the little changes, follow the rules, do the paperwork, and we'll be fine. I think it's good, and it's gonna differentiate the top agents from the non-top agents. And for those of the agents that are afraid to sign buyer agent commission, I've actually set this to Michelle, right? Because Michelle's a very good closer. She's also good at signing buyer contracts, right?
Good at explaining, period.
Yeah.
Very good.
So what I said to her is, maybe you get to a point where you sign up a lot of buyer agents and have showing agents show the property, and you do the negotiation, you do the closing, you do the, so then she'll have like people out on the field doing the showing. Because to be honest with you, if you know you're not a closer and if you know you're just scared to do it, you're either gonna get out of the business or become a showing agent. I feel like this change is what's gonna happen. Yes, agree? I think it's gonna happen. So you either learn how to be a, confident closer or become a showing agent.
The showing agent gets compensated.
That's something that they gotta work out with the person, but, people do different things, it could be like per door, it could be a percentage, it could be, anything you want it to be. I met a KW, agent who was showing my property, just about a few days ago. And, he said that, his team leader just has him going out showing properties or being there for inspections or appraisal, But he wasn't trained on co-op approval, he wasn't trained on UTI, he wasn't trained on anything.
Yeah, the one thing to be saying because we don't want to show them.
Funny, he said to me, he's like, Lily, how long have you been in business? How long have you been doing this? And I'm like, oh, before I was born. My God, I'm old. But, yeah, these new agents are, you know. Yeah, he was very young. He was very young, but guys, you know, and that's the sad part, like, they didn't even come show them your belly.
You gotta make you.
Wait, stop, I'm gonna go with you?
No,
Was long ago?
yeah, gonna make you park in front of me.
Check. Thank you. Thank you. She's my assistant. For 2 more weeks.
What they gonna do?
I don't know, I'm gonna die.
You just need to get the business.
So she thinks that she's gonna pop the baby out and then like get back to work. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if that's gonna happen. Huh? Her husband, her mom, her dad. Yeah, guys, I'm screwed. I'm gonna need help. She just took keys because she's gonna do photos for me for a new listing. But yeah, she's awesome.
Do you have anyone that's looking for the job to take on with you?
Yeah, Bradley.
Because you're not looking about that, it's like 9 people.
Yeah, I have the key. Ask Cindy for keys. Yeah. I have a lot of empty units, guys. If you guys wanna like grab keys, do a social media on it, do, you know, whatever, like, you're free to, right?
Whatever.
Where? It's all on MLO. It's all on my listing. You'll see all my listing.
So I thought there is something else that's coming
I have,
in Bradley, because Bradley is coming.
yeah, it's already listed. Cindy has the keys. It's all on MLS. Like, you guys are free to
I
go
mean,
and
the shop, when it says that it's going to be from today, because it's supposed to be yesterday.
oh, so it's gonna be active today. It might be active now. Sorry, Cindy does all that, but yeah, it's a new listing. And she, you know, I mean, you guys could promote listings, that the office has. She just grabbed keys, cause I just got a listing at, 10 Station Square. You know, the building right next to Terrace. It's a cute studio with a terrace facing, a beautiful parcel garden, and if you guys wanna,
How much is it?
$199. For the tiny studio.
Very well, right?
Because it's a good location.
Yeah, but the comps, in there.
You know,
are
Sarah's
125,
selling, studio there.
268,
Yeah, but the owner told me,
yeah,
and he said, I wasn't to agreement, but you're not letting it go.
yeah, of course they would.
So it's over,
It's a straight-
coming,
yeah.
So
It's overpriced,
So, right.
it's overpriced. It's overpriced. All right, guys, come on, any other questions before we call it a day? We have 15 more minutes. You guys have to have questions, right? Like, when you're out and about this last week, like, did you guys experience anything crazy? I know some of you guys signed into this a little later, but I was telling the people who came early, like, even talking to attorneys that are local here and experienced, they didn't even hear about the law change.
Things that I'm not full time.
No, she was. I'll tell you who later. But, no, but she's like, Lily, you're the only one that's changing your deal sheet to reflect where the compensation's coming from, what the compensation is. You know, the first time hearing it was, she says it was from me, and she hasn't heard it from any other broker so far. So you guys have to keep your eye out on like which attorneys understand these changes and which attorneys don't, because they're protecting or not protecting their commission.
And nothing changed in the rental.
Rentals are the same.
All of them
Yeah.
are about the rental. So the rentals is the same, we use the same form.
Yeah, you still need agency, you still need fair housing, it's all the same, yeah. Commission is, like I just took a rental listing and it's the same MLS form and, you know, we put that the tenant's gonna pay the commission, so.
About the dealership, can you please share with us where are you in specific, commission side? If you are
So-
the estimation or if you are the violating?
The memorandum is on LIBOR J. It's a memorandum document, So I just accepted an offer from an agent from Crosby, and he sent me this. And I got the seller to sign it. It's a memorandum of offer to purchase. The memorandum of offer to purchase is available, on the MLS site, but we also, EXP in the Google Drive link has a document called, seller agreement to compensate buyer broker or something like that. It's the same thing, right?
What is, when in Google Drive?
Yeah. Huh?
Oh, signing this with the seller.
No, when the owner accepted the offer. Memorandum of offer to purchase. The memorandum has the commission breakdown of, you know, the selling, the listing agent commission, the buyer agent commission, the seller's concession, any additional terms.
So let's say the buyer's agent sends you that.
After, yeah. So I could get my seller.
Typically like a full broke agreement.
Correct.
Technically,
Yeah.
it's a video offer, yeah, offer is accepted,
Yeah.
it's sending you this, quarterly commission.
Yeah. Did you guys hear that? Once you guys have an accepted offer, or if you're getting an offer form submitted, an agent would send me this memorandum that is, that LIBOR has, right? Or there's also an EXP document that, it's basically a confirmation that the commission, so he said 2% commission built into the price. Because nothing is on MLS anymore, he needs to make sure that the seller understands that his commission is built into the price and that it's in fact going to get paid at closing. So he would need this document or the EXP.
So that's a addition to a deal sheet or?
Correct. The deal sheet, I mean, or you could give this to the attorney to add the deal sheet.
Okay.
All right.
Can we use the one that when we send the offer in the battery says, seller, and then we have a percentage there? When they accept our offer, so that's another one, that one cannot cover all.
You could, but it's not as, I think, detailed as
Like that.
yeah, so it's better to, I would like this one.
And can I just, take a picture of that?
It's on MLS side, if you go on MLS on the lower, right hand side, click on MLS form.
I'm in there.
There. I'm gonna.
Okay, I'm in there.
Lily, what did you say that form was for again? I'm sorry.
Confirmation that your commission is built into the price. So if you have the buyer, right? And you got an accepted offer on someone else's listing, right?
Okay.
And you said to the listing agent, my offer is 500,000, which includes a 2% commission to the buyer's broker.
Okay.
Right? And they accept the offer. You need confirmation that the seller did in fact understand that your commission was built into the price. It's kind of like, because MLS no longer has that, right? The commission. So now you need confirmation that they know that the commission is built into the price and you're gonna get paid that commission.
Got it. So this is on the buyer's end. This is a form we can download from the MLS. And it's just, got it. And if they accept the offer and we're on the buyer's end and they accept the offer with 2% commission rolled into the offer, we just need to get confirmation now that they understand that they have to pay us the 2%.
Yeah, you don't want to get to the closing and the seller's like, no, the listing contract only pays the listing broker. I never agreed to pay a buyer's agent, right?
Yeah.
So you have confirmation
So
of that.
regardless of who gets the commission, even if the seller's paying a portion, and it's a buyer, you need to have both. I did a closing like that and got the closing table, the listing agent never explained it to the seller.
So.
And it was, in the offer, it said, the 2%, right. We did, we told her, she never told us. That she was giving your attorney sign. The question,
Yeah, this form, so what is the seller saying, I'm not paying the commission? Let the buyer get compensated.
So we all, they cut the offer.
Yeah, no, they remove the compensation
Okay,
from the offer,
okay.
the buyer pays, they
Okay.
want it to be final.
Then it's a seller's concession. You could try to add it as a seller's concession.
Seller might say, oh, I don't want, I think it's a seller's concession, because that's what they put on my price, then I have to pay, for example, higher fee for the police car.
Then we don't want to accept it off, and we they have to go into the price. But it shouldn't be that much more, like a 200, right?
I know, but.
So, like, for example, we did a renovation credit recently, and it was like a $30,000 renovation credit, right? And the purchase price was over $500,000, so 30,000 times 1.825%, right? Because that's state and city transfer tax. Yeah. So it worked out to like 500 and something dollars. So what we did was seller paid half, buyer paid half. So it's like $200 something per person extra to add seller's concession.
What about the old transactions that we have pending,
Your commission is still confirmed because the MLS, but you should have had that. Yeah.
so that's not.
Anything after, August 17th, you guys need these new documents signed. If you went into contract prior to August 17th, you still should confirm because all the MLS things change.
But that's why I'm
But the court said-
we have on the assumption for it to be uploaded, because before, the documentation was.
Listed there.
No, it's not visible, so the AP will ask you, where's the confirmation that you will get compensated, like I had a listing, we've been on the border of the date, and I did not download that form. So the listing agent, she sent like over.
Okay, that's good. You guys need to confirm everything. Okay?
I asked
Like,
her for the deal card, and I'm sitting there like, send me the deal card.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't know what you mean. I'm like, the deal card, deal sheet? Like the deal sheet, I sent you with the buyer side, and she was just supposed to put the seller's name and email.
Yeah.
And she did, and never gave me the deal card.
why don't you or the lawyer,
It's like, agent.
I would hate for you guys to work for free, okay? So
So
make
after
sure.
5 times, what did she send me the book? I have to remember. That's not what they asked.
Okay, that's better than the deal sheet. Yeah, that's better than the deal sheet. All right, guys, any last minute questions before we head into the Labor Day weekend?
No, thank you, Lily. I appreciate your time as always.
No problem. And you guys have my number, so if there's any questions